Good morning, everybody. As I said, my name is Stefan Haas. I work for InTechnology. Tell you a bit about myself. I moved to this country about 18 years ago, so quite early on in my professional career. And I thought, well, what am I actually good at? What could I do in this country? And I thought one of the things I'm always very good at, and I get frequent complaints from friends and family, is I like to get on my soapbox. I like to talk about stuff. I like to preach about stuff. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice to actually find a subject that you actually believe in, that actually has got some value to the people you're talking to, and that's something a little bit exciting. And I thought cloud service is exactly that. And I've been kind of preaching and believing in cloud services in different shapes and guises, under different terms, for nearly 12 years now. And it's quite interesting to see over the last 12 months how you hear the term cloud everywhere, even on BBC News, first thing in the morning. I know they talk about consumers predominantly rather than business users, but it's an exciting topic. Because actually, when I talk to people on non-IT, friends and family, and I mention the word cloud, they have got a slight understanding of that, which is quite nice, because normally when you talk about IT, you know, the eyelids drop, like they're checking the eyelids for light leaks, falling asleep because you're talking about something boring. Where I actually think cloud is something exciting, not just for the people in the room, but for most people out there who use the cloud. And I've got a grand title of my presentation. I mean, it's not often that I've got a title that has got both a Hollywood blockbuster as well as an aging British rock band in the title. So state of play and the status quo of the cloud today. Very grand, let's get started. So today, there are a number of different offerings in the cloud, and I sort of like to separate between public offering and private stroke hybrid offerings. On the public side, you've already heard from my colleague just then about the likes of Google. There's obviously a number of public offerings out there, some longer, some quite recent. Interestingly enough, most of them actually not just originate in the US, but hosted and steered from the US. So not necessarily sort of UK driven. But they're obviously, you know, all the big names that you know, love or hate, depending on where you are in the marketplace. If you look about the private or hybrid cloud models, you do see sort of like, you know, a slight variation where customers are providing some form of the management, or service providers providing some form of the management. Look at VMware, for example. That's a great tool to provide a virtualized cloud environment for end users such as yourselves to put their own applications on top and manage those applications. Now, depending on the kind of service provider you choose, if you look at Exchange, for example, you might want to manage it yourself, or you might want the service provider to manage it for you in a bespoke environment, in a private environment. Microsoft OCS, or now Lync, going forward, again, it's a great model where we've seen a large adaptation of business users collaborating, sharing, and communicating using that particular tool, integrated into their specific environment. You know, and even high-end applications such as ERP systems from SAP are now being hosted in the cloud. That was unheard of 12 to 18 months ago. Nobody would do that. But organizations are now considering, because they know that the cloud model does actually work, and there's more that you can do out there, but still retaining some of the control, particularly at the application level, which is where private and hybrid cloud models work quite well. But everything we see in the cloud is driven by end users and end user behavior. Yeah, so what does the end user actually use the cloud for? They might like to get their telephony delivered within the cloud. If they're at home, they want to have the same capabilities as if they were in the office. So if they pick up the phone, it should come up with their office landline. They should be able to make conference calls rather than using a mobile phone. They want to see email from wherever they are, in a remote office, in a hotel, from home, from the office itself, or even on the road. They want to be able to communicate with internal or external parties using the likes of Office Communicator. And they want to use sharing tools such as WebEx or live meeting. That's what end users use the cloud for today, and that's what drives our behavior. So some of the winners at the moment clearly are the customers and the end users. If you look at the public cloud, you know, it's out of the box, you know what you get, it's defined, It's easy to roll out, it's a standard deployment, but you don't get any customization. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. It might work for some applications or for some business requirements, organizational requirements, but it may not work for others. If you're happy with no to little customization, it might work for you. However, if you need more customization, you need to integrate it with existing business workflows, with existing business applications. A private or hybrid cloud model might be more tailored to your requirements. Because it allows you the flexibility, allows you to treat it as if it was your own environment, just host it somewhere else. We can tailor it exactly to how you want it to be. From a performance point of view, from an access point of view, from a security point of view. Yeah? You get an awful lot more control of that. And you also know, if data is involved, where that data is actually located. I.e. it's located within territory, in this case in the UK. It's managed in the UK under a 24/7 SLA. You know exactly what happens, who to phone, should something happen. Yeah? You're not directed to a website where you might get or might not get access to a call center. You don't necessarily get a standard SLA, you get an SLA that's tailored to your requirements. But as I said, everything is end-user driven. Now, the uptake rates are quite interesting. How many of you have got teenage kids? None, or just a few. Okay? Now, how do these teenagers today communicate and interact with their peers? Do they use BlackBerries? Very good. Do they use landlines? No. Do they use email? No. Yeah, they use Facebook. They use all kinds of tools given through the mobile devices they purchase, and most of those are cloud-based tools. Yeah, when those teenagers were 5 or 6, if you recall back to those days, I mean, I've got kids, both teenagers as well as the under 10 age range, they used IT tools completely differently. The first time they kind of used, mobile communication was SMS on the mobile phone. That's the only thing they did. There was no Xbox Live, where you could game against your peers on either side of the world. Just didn't exist. Yeah? It's changed so much over the last 10 years, and these kids are now driven organizations. They come to an organization, they get a landline. They say, what do I want a landline for? Where's my mobile phone? By the way, here's your email system. What do I need email for? Yeah? They will drive our behavior. They will drive the way we deliver services in the cloud. Yeah? And it all comes down to the actual application, to the software that they're using. So software as a service does lead the trend amongst consumers. Yeah? Because they see the real benefit. They don't care how it works, where it's hosted, who's responsible, as long as it works. Yeah? When Xbox Live was down for several weeks, there was mayhem in the gamers' world. Yeah? They didn't know what to do. Our Wi-Fi broke at home the other day. You can imagine them. I've got 4 kids. Can you imagine the mayhem? But can I use your laptop? Well, you can, but what's the point? You can't get access to the internet. Oh, I use my mobile phone. Yeah, again, you can't use the Wi-Fi. You'd pay for on the mobile phone rates. Oh. No, they didn't know what to do. And that is absolutely the truth. Software as a service will drive the behavior. At the business side, we've seen some early successes with software as a service in areas such as education and media, and it's a growing success. What we've seen a far greater adaptation rate is in terms of infrastructure as a service. Now, why is that the case? It is the next easy step. Okay, I know about the cloud, heard about it. Now, do I want to move all my applications into the cloud, or maybe I just give them the infrastructure level? Give them a network already. Maybe I'll give them some servers and storage. Maybe I'll give them just a platform, but actually still in control of the application. It's the next easy step. It's kind of to prove to the business, yes, it works. And then you move through the application stack over the months and years. And it also offers clean and clear lines of demarcation. You know what your service provider is responsible for. You know what you as the customer is responsible for. Service provider manages everything up to the infrastructure level. Anything on top is down to you. So if the server keels over, if it's not the application, then you know it's the service provider's fault. If the application itself keels over, you need to fix it. And that kind of model is working really well for a lot of organizations out there. And it allows the in-house IT team to focus on what they're really good at. I think I use this line pretty much in every presentation I've given it to this forum. They can actually focus on end users and applications because that's what they're really good at. All of you IT guys in this room, you know what your end users want. You know what business systems and applications you've got. You know where you really need to deliver and drive value. Well, you want to show to your own board, actually, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know how we can reduce cost. I know how we can improve efficiency. And it all comes down to end users and to your applications. Because no service provider will ever be able to take over that mantle. Yeah? I don't know if you heard, but if you look at the Department for Work and Pension, they had a massive outsourcing deal for managed desktops, 140,000 users, given to large international supplier A. 18 months down the line, it was decided it didn't work. What a surprise. We see that time and time again because they're trying to take over the end users and the applications without having the prior knowledge of how the organization, how that business actually ticks and actually works. And that's why infrastructure service offers you a great way of actually leveraging the power of the cloud without using your in-house skills, without using control of how you manage and use the systems. Now, the case study I've picked is actually both infrastructure service and software as a service. Now, some business called NetDocuments. Now, they've been driving a cloud-based document management system for a number of years now in the US, and they're very successful in the US. It's predominantly targeted at the legal market and professional services market and financial markets. It allows, let's say, different law firms to collaborate with each other, working on the same document, making changes without having to be in the same site. You can imagine in the US, of course, you've got great distances to cover, so this kind of tool has seen quite a lot of success over there. The way they differ from most other document management systems, it's purely cloud-based. They don't offer an on-site deployment. You say, why do I want to have it on-site? I get no real control, get no real flexibilities. Therefore, from the start, they deliver this as a cloud-based service. But because it's driven by customer requirements, of course, it needs to be highly available. It needs to be working across different time zones. They're protected across multiple data centers. What allows access from wherever the end user client actually is, which is absolutely vital. But then we need to make sure that data is not just stored in one data center, but across multiple data centers. So if the primary data should be lost or should be corrupt for whatever reason, you've got a copy elsewhere that you can't just recover from, was actually accessible straight away. It's an active environment. When we deliver to NetDocuments, it's basically infrastructure as a service. It's our data centers, our servers, our storage, built to their specifications. We manage the infrastructure. Here you go, NetDocuments, over to you. And what they do, they layer their own application on top, the NetDocument software, and deliver that as software as a service to the end user. Yeah? And that's a great model to see where a lot of the cloud adaptation will come going forward, which is from software, again. When you go to one of the large vendors out there who sell both software and hardware, just have a look at what the sales guys drive. Yeah? The hardware sales guys will drive Vauxhalls. The software sales guys will drive Ferraris, simply because that's where the real value is. That's where they can actually earn the money. It's not on the hardware side, on the software side. So if you can deliver a software as a service model, you know customers are prepared to pay for it. You know you can actually deliver some real value. People do see the benefit of that. Software drives everything. And surprise, surprise, even the likes of IDC obviously predict that the cloud services market is growing fast. And it's outgrowing, in percentage terms, global IT spend by a factor of 5, which is quite significant. You could say, yeah, it starts from a low starting point, therefore, growth rates are to be expected. But it is quite staggering. Interestingly enough, they say, most of these expenditure is actually on private cloud-based environments. Growth rate 26% over 4 years, again, quite impressive. If you just look at the UK alone, a doubling in expenditure, cloud-based expenditure, for a period of 4 years. No bad market to be in. about 10 billion pounds worth of business. Yeah? That's what you guys will spend going forward. And again, according to IDC, most of that spend is going into the private cloud. Probably starting with infrastructure service, then moving up to the layer, software as a service, and other applications. So again, that's why I'm quite pleased to be in this kind of market, because it's growing. Whether you open the paper, you look in the news, everything is going down as a downturn. This market actually is growing. Now, can you imagine if the economy actually should start to grow again at higher rates? This figure will obviously increase even further. Now, if I did this presentation 12 months ago, I would have said there's quite a big gap between what the cloud can deliver to what customers expect. So 12 months ago, this room probably would have been a third full. But it's changed. The last 12 months has changed an awful lot in terms of perception, in terms of belief, in terms of knowledge of the cloud. So the gap, from our point of view, is definitely closing. Multi-tenancy in the network has been accepted for way over a decade now. Multi-tenancy within the server, storage, application environment is also increasingly accepted. Yes, there's still some skeptics out there, there always will be, but as a cloud service provider, you have got the tools and the ammunition to assure customers that security is actually taken care of. And it's not just your low-hanging fruit, your web service, your file service, your non-business critical service that you virtualize or move into the cloud. It's actually your business critical applications. You know, when people are prepared to host their document management system, their ERP system, their email system, all systems that a business or an organization heavily relies on in the cloud, you know you're onto the right track. The cloud business model is increasingly adopted and accepted. But I'm not going to ignore that there are still some concerns, and we need to overcome those. Concerns about security, network latency, and about exit strategy. How do I actually get out? If I want to get out at some point, how do I get out? So as a service provider, we have got the responsibility to articulate that to our customers. Yes, of course, you need to show you a way out, should you decide to move maybe to another service provider or back in-house. That needs to be part of it. You don't want to trap customers in your environment so they can't get out. You want to make sure that the environment is open for them to access their service, access their data, access anything they've got whenever they want and how they want to. Because if you're open, then they obviously will start to grow the trust they've got in you, because if you don't trap them, they think, well, obviously these guys have got everything to lose, so unless they do the service that they actually say they will deliver, I can move elsewhere. But at the same token, if they do deliver the service, why would you move elsewhere? So the gap is definitely closing. And as I said before, everything is driven by the changes in the marketplace, and most of those come from the end user community. They use those services more and more. They ask of you as the IT department, use the provider, give me this, give me that. Yeah, I don't care how it works. I want access it from anywhere. I want to make sure it works. I want to make sure it's protected. And I want to use it now. Well, customization is absolutely key. When you look in business critical applications, you can't just deliver that out of a box. Here you go, that's what you get, Mr. Customer. Because every business, every organization out there, you know it yourselves, is different. Slightly different processes, slightly different workflows, slightly different applications that hang off a business critical application. You need to make sure that you can integrate those, make sure you can customize the environment to meet those customers' expectations. Because otherwise, they'll decide, well, I'll keep it in-house because I can get a level of customization in-house. So you need to be able to deliver that in the cloud. So what you offer to customers, how they can access those services, is absolutely vital. And that has changed dramatically over the last few years. I remember the day when you had to be in the office to actually access a particular application. Now, I don't really care where I am. I can be at home, I can be here, I can be in a remote office, I can be at a customer site. I want to be able to access a particular application, be that email, be that a file system. That's what end users want. And end users drive the software vendors, and software vendors obviously are moving an increasing amount of their software applications into the cloud, because you see that's what end users want them, that's what is easy to use. websites used to be straightforward. You type in your web address, there you go. Now, there's an increasing number of people who host their website on Facebook. Why do they host it on Facebook? Because it allows you to interact with the end users. The end user access somebody's content differently than they used to. And you need to make sure you can respond to that. So if you look at it from a supplier point of view, I just sort of focus on data centers. I mean, I quite often hear all this sort of the data center is dying, we don't really need data centers. I actually beg to differ. I think it's going the absolute opposite way. The old data center is dead, I'll give you that. But the data center of the future, where you actually consolidate even more, you virtualize, you reduce the carbon footprint. We're just building a new data center in Reading where we're reducing the power requirements by 70%, simply by having an improved way of cooling the data center. Yeah? And that's not even using green energy. Moving forward, you're looking at, we're using green energy to fuel your data centers. And those will be the data centers of the future. So there's huge investment opportunity. When investment banks see, hang on, this is not just kind of like a customer I get, single-digit returns, but I can actually get some real returns, they will invest in it. Also, green data center will go in hand with waste reduction. Will go in hand where people are, accounts, for example, needing to reduce their own carbon footprint through landfill sites and actually have clean waste destruction centers, at the backing of which they create green energy. Well, who can use this green energy best? Data centers. Yeah? And you'll see an increasing number of data centers springing out in the marketplace over the next few years. They're actually powered by green energy because it's cheap and it's carbon neutral. And that's what businesses want. So going forward, again, both end users and suppliers are driving the change in the marketplace. So who will be successful going forward? On the one hand, it will be the software vendors who move the applications into the cloud. They say, my end users like my application, but why not actually move it into the cloud? Why not make it accessible and flexible at all times? Protect it across multiple data centers so they don't have to do it on site. Still the same software, just delivered in a better, more resilient and secure way. Additional revenue for the software vendors. As I said, it's software that drives the end user behavior. And service providers who offer those kind of end-to-end solutions will also be successful. But you've got to allow the end user to step into the cloud at their own pace, to move application by application into the cloud, moving service by service or user by user or side by side. Let them do their own pace. You will never see the Big Bang approach. If you do, you will run into problems because you're moving from old world to new world. You've got to allow the customer to do it at their own pace. And that is delivered by utility-based charging models. As we were before, the customer should only pay for what they actually use at the time. Customization, again, is absolutely key. You've got to allow the customers to use your environment in the way they want to use it, in the way that makes sense to their organization, to their business. And those providers will succeed going forward. I already have seen quite a lot of success. So to summarize, the cloud today has moved on dramatically just over the last 12 months, never mind over the last 10 years. Yeah? And it's end users that are driving that behavior, that are driving business and driving IT departments and organizations to change the way they deliver those services to the end users. You've got to think of the Generation Y that's now coming into businesses. They don't want to see the old systems. They don't want to see the old ways. They don't know the old ways. We've got to make sure we attract young talent into the organizations. It's absolutely vital. We have got both public and private stroke hybrid clouds, successful in different markets and different areas, but both are generating momentum. So software as a service will continue to grow very, very strongly and will continue to deliver real value, but it's at the early stage of the cycle where infrastructure as a service is the easy step forward. It's the next step into the cloud. It allows customers to do it at their own pace and do it so that the organization gets used to before they're moving the whole application stack into the cloud. But we know that area is growing dramatically. It was nice to sort of talked 2-3 years ago, yeah, I think we're going to see some growth. Actually, now there's some real growth and some real expenditure being made in the cloud. And it's a great market to work in. And both the end users as well as suppliers are changing the way they use it, and they're changing their models, where they deliver those services. And it will continue to change over the next 12 months. So I'm still excited to be in this market. Finally, actually, people understand what I'm talking about, not just in this room, but also in private engagement, which is great. Nice fluffy term, cloud, probably will get replaced in 2 or 3 years' time, but the essence of what's actually being delivered will continue to excel. Thank you very much.